401k advisors want to build a scalable practice, but aren't always sure what to do next. Welcome to Outcomes, the podcast designed to help advisors think, make decisions, and cast a vision to create a business for the future. Here's your host, Ross Marino, financial planner, author, speaker, and CEO of Advisor2X.
Welcome to Outcomes, the podcast. Today, we are joined by Jania Stout, past president of NAPA and also an advisor. Jania, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Ross. I'm excited to be here.
I'm glad you're here. I've been looking forward to speaking with you. I know that you were the president of NAPA for a while, and now you're into that past president. And what I was wanting to talk to you about was how you actually go through the process of being president, what you see, and anytime we do something significant in life or we go through a transition, we start to see things a little bit differently. And when you and I talked previously, I was going to ask you that question of, do you think you could talk about or contrast what you thought before you became president of NAPA and then afterwards? And before I even got to the question, you just said, I came out of it a total different person. And that's when I knew, great, that's exactly what I wanted to talk about. And really, the principle that I wanted to go over, there's a foundation in quantum physics around it. I'm not even going to try to share it. I just know that it's a similar principle. And what it says is that when you see different things, when you observe and you have different experiences, you then see things differently. So it's not just knowledge and understanding, but how you think and how you process. You are changed. So the process of observation changes the observer. And again, you just came right out and said that. You're like, yep, came out of it a total different person. Most people right now are listening to the audio on a podcast, but if they're on video, they're seeing what I'm seeing, and they're going to say, you know, actually, Jania looks a little bit different. So I haven't seen you in a year, and you definitely look different. Would you mind sharing why you look different?
Sure, Ross. Well, I've actually lost, as of today, 55 pounds. I started the weight loss journey before quarantine, but I continued through it, and I'm excited. Yeah, I feel better. I can, move around better. I have a lot more energy. It's been an amazing experience.
55 pounds is a monster number. And if you study health, you understand that a lot of people may gain and lose and yo-yo 10 or 20 pounds, but that number, that was awesome. I gave you a virtual high five the last time you told me that because I know it's awesome. And I wondered how many people who could lose 55 pounds have actually done it. I mean, wonder what the percentage is. It's got to be a decimal point. It's such a small number that can actually do it because you have to make a major change. Now, I know a little bit about your history, and you were a two-sport D1 athlete. So that tells me you know how to get after it. You know.
There's an athlete, yes. And
right?
I kept saying that I had an athlete inside me, and I had to let it come back out.
Yeah, but it's the mental aspect, which is you know how to push your body, you know how to set a goal, and you believe that if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. And that's what separates elite athletes. I was a D1 athlete as well, and there's a different mindset that you have when you go into that. But you were always that same person. The athlete was inside of you. The intense person was inside of you. But all of a sudden, something happened and you just woke up one day or you had an experience. What happened where all of a sudden you said, that's it, I'm done. I'm now losing this weight?
Well, it actually started over a year ago. So I'm currently 51, but last year I was 50, or actually it started when I was 49. And I said, every year I kept coming up with excuses like, I just started a business, or we've had a really busy year this year. Like there was always something that was my priority, or it could have been my children when they were younger. Well, I'll wait till they they drive so mommy can go to the gym more. So there were all these excuses. So I was 49 and I said, by the time I hit 50, I want to be back in the best shape of my life. Well, that didn't happen. But around 49 and a half, about 50 and a half, I thought to myself, well, I still have 6 months left in my 50s. So, which was back in like November of last year. And I said, if I can just really focus, I can at least be close to the best shape of my life while I'm still 50. So I could kind of hit that goal. So that's what I did. And I turned 51 the end of March. And at that time, I had lost 35 or 40 pounds. So I had come close to the 55. But once I saw what determination can do, and I know better, I've done that through playing sports or starting a company. But if you want something bad enough, you can achieve it. And I've talked to people since I've lost this weight, and people have said, well, I've tried, because I eat keto. That's kind of my lifestyle now. And people say, oh, I tried it, but I really like my bread, or I like my rice. And I'm like, well, great. Then you don't want, then this isn't, for me, the goal was so important that it was a lifestyle change, and bread or rice wasn't going to get in the way of it. And so I woke up and 6 months later, I've lost the weight, and I don't miss bread or rice at all anymore.
Yeah, that's the amazing part about nutrition, is there's so many foods that we think I can't live without until we actually live without, and then realize we actually can live without. But yeah, it's hard. I often joke that I wish exercise could get it done, because I would love to eat whatever I want. I could work out 4 or 5 times a week if that would keep me in the health that I want, but it just doesn't work. It's nutrition, and there's things that will have to be cut out. And I may not have to cut them all out today, but just accepting that you have to cut them out. But it's hard. But as you know, we've swapped a couple stories. It's motivating. People around you notice, and you're able to make an impact. And I know that you're an advisor, so you love making an impact. Obviously, you're the president of NAPA. You're concerned with the industry. You're concerned with our country. That's part of what you do. But before we dive into NAPA, can you talk about how you're having an impact on people around you just in being healthier?
Yeah, actually, this is a funny story I haven't shared with you. So I got so many requests from friends and coworkers and family and clients who were watching my journey or seeing my journey, whether it was a Zoom call or what have you, that they were asking me about keto. So I started this keto group on Facebook. And I said, I just reached out to my network and I said, hey, I'm getting so many questions about this. I figured I'd just start our own group, and I'm thinking maybe 20 or 30 people would join. We have 150 members now. And it's like, the pressure I feel like now, I'm like, I feel not pressure, but like, I know I'm impacting other people's lives. Some of those 150 people just glance at it every once in a while. Some are active contributors. And it's so cool. Like the other day I sent a note and said, okay, somebody share with me what's going on and any success stories. And people were rattling off, I lost 23 pounds, I lost 22 pounds. So it feels good. And then just kind of tying this back into work, one of our clients, she was talking to one of our consultants, who I work with them too, but we work as a team. And she told the consultant, make sure you tell Jania that I've lost 10 pounds because of her journey, and I'm eating healthier, and my kids are now eating healthier. So you really don't realize the scope of who you impact by your actions. And so at night, when I think about, the things I'm grateful for, I'm grateful for my weight loss. And then I'm grateful that I've helped impact other people's lives.
Yeah, that's awesome. A lot of it's just timing. You just never know where someone's at, because everybody's going through something, and they've gone through stuff in the past, and they're wanting to make changes or do something in their life. And you never know, when you bump into them, that may be the trigger just for them as well. So yeah, that's exciting. Well, fantastic. Well, let's do a quick pivot, and let's talk about a fly-in that didn't have any flying. But NAPA, right? They do the DC fly-in, which is great. You're in front of legislators. You get to know what they're thinking. You go on behalf of our industry. You speak for us. You are the voice. And couldn't fly in this year, but sounds like they did a good pivot. Can you talk about what you guys did, and then any takeaways from that you think is going to be good or challenges for our industry going forward?
Yeah. Well, first and foremost, of course, we were sad we couldn't be in person, but my reaction just to the format was amazing. Like, I never thought I could be as engaged in a virtual atmosphere as I was. I felt more connected to the speakers. It was an interesting experience. It's my first virtual kind of conference or event, other than Zoom calls, right? So I thought it was really well done. The fly-in has always been one of my favorite events because it really gives us the opportunity as advisors to see what's happening, how the cakes are made, but how to bake a cake, because it's what happens in Congress. And we heard from Senator Richie Neal. We heard from the Department of Labor. We also listened to a couple of other panel presentations about kind of how lobbying works, and I think that's interesting. And then day two, we actually had virtual meetings on the Hill. So met with Senator, for me, I'm from Maryland, so Senator Cardin and Senator Van Hollen's office. And, it was really neat. We were on a Zoom. So in Maryland, there were 12 of us, 12 advisors. You could see all our faces, and, everybody was contributing and voicing, being an advocate for our client around pension and retirement reform. So, Ross, I think it's a great event. NAPA did a great job putting it out there on a virtual format. The feedback I've received already has been tremendous, but the content's what's amazing. It's not anything, you're not going to hear things about best practices on how to run a committee meeting. It's going to be, the real nitty gritty, what's on the horizon from a pension reform perspective. And then also we talked a lot about pension relief right now, or retirement relief. I think we had over 300 advisors, which was the biggest fly-in we've ever had. So having it in this format allowed people to join that maybe wouldn't have been able to. So I think that's a positive. But given the current times that we're in, we still need help for our clients from a retirement plan, relief. And so we were able to voice some of the challenges our clients are having to these senators, and everybody, met with different senators based on the state they lived in. But, a lot of the offices had really good questions. And I know in ours, we talked about partial plan terminations. And at Senator Cardin's office, they wanted to know, if I could share real life examples. And, we have a retail client that's shutting down 1,600 stores.
Wow.
But we're hoping that when this is over, they'll be back. They'll hire back some of these people. So we need relief right now. So anyway, the bottom line of fly-in is it really gave us access to not only hearing from the people that impact the different laws, that the bills that become law, but also we got to give our opinions and speak for our clients.
Yeah, and I think that's powerful. My concern in any type of political format is that they would just be giving you lip service and they would just listen to you. But what you're describing is exactly the way you hope it would go, is that they really do ask questions and seek to understand. And that's pretty awesome. So I'm glad they switched to the digital format. Glad you were able to do that. And yes, our industry definitely needs help. So now let's leave the present and let's go to the past. So you're at a point, you've been involved with NAPA, you've been an advisor for many years, and you realize, you know what, I want to dive deeper. I want to help a little bit more. What was your thought process about NAPA and your impression of what would it be like to be president and what could I do? So what did you anticipate going into that position?
Well, I'll take a step further. Even before I knew I was going to be taking that step into presidency, I think at my initial involvement with NAPA, I thought, oh, it's a great event where I get to go see lots of fun people and we get to talk about things that I care about, which is retirement plan advising. And as I got to know NAPA a little bit better, they have different groups, the Government Affairs Committee, and then there's the Leadership Council. And I got to know some of the advisors that were on the Leadership Council. And I started to kind of scratch the surface, kind of saying, wait a minute. So this council gets together and talks about kind of what we need to continue to do or stop doing, and what do advisors need. And I've never been shy about giving my opinions. I'm pretty loud about that. So I thought, you know what, I want to get involved in this. So what happened was I was in the Leadership Council first, and then after a few years of being as a committee member, I was approached about the idea of going down the presidency track. And, at first I thought, gosh, I don't know if I'm qualified for this. Not because I don't know retirement plan consulting. It was more the government side of it, like how a bill is passed, like all those things that happen on Capitol Hill. I had sat and listened to some really amazing advisors that knew a lot more about that than I did. So I thought, I don't know if I'm the right person to be in that role. But I also know that in every part of my life, if you shy away from things that make you scared or nervous, or that you feel you're underqualified for, you're never going to grow. So right. I said, of course, I would love to do this, where there was the other voice in my head going, are you crazy? You don't know what you're doing on this. And then fast forward, I become president. And even before being president, I was president-elect. So I got to shadow the president for a year, which was Jeff Atchison, who is an amazing advisor and great for our industry. And I got to kind of see what he was doing. So there is a pathway. You don't just get dumped into that position. So I had plenty of time to get myself educated on how things worked.
Yeah, and I think you brought up a great point, which is, well, the side point, which is we all suffer from the imposter syndrome. So there's something called the Dunning-Kruger curve, where we think we're really smart right when we start learning something. And then as soon as we start learning more about it, we realize, wait a minute, I actually don't know a lot about this. And as you move in, your confidence tanks as you acquire more knowledge, and you realize the amount of information I don't know is mind-boggling. And over time, the curve and confidence starts to climb again. And but what I just heard you say, which I think is great, which is you don't have to know how all these different committees and different things work. It's advisors getting involved in the industry with the association and going out to make a difference. There's a lot of people around you, so don't let that hold you up. Just go dive in and go for it. And even though you may not have had some of the history that you thought some of the other people had, or some of the knowledge, seems like it didn't matter. Once you dove in there, you learned, you figured it out, and now you become president after being president-elect. And what was that experience like?
Oh, it was phenomenal. I mean, just the opportunities that I had by meeting with the Department of Labor and the IRS. I mean, those would probably be some of my highlights. Before I became president, I actually testified in front of the Ways and Means Committee. That also was very scary. Like, if I look back at my life, that's definitely going to be on the list of an amazing experience that maybe I felt underqualified for, but who, if not me, then who, right? I mean, we all need to step up, and they want to hear from advisors. They don't want to hear necessarily from the politicians or the lobbyists. They want to hear from people like us that are doing it every day. So the presidency was amazing. I really got behind the concept or the push around bringing more women into our industry. That was kind of where I decided to put my focus. So we've had, I think we're in year number 5 now of the Women's Conference, and it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger every year. Mentoring programs, like all kinds of wonderful things that I think being a female president, and not that if it was a male president, that wouldn't have happened, but I had skin in the game myself because I'm a woman, right? So it gave me the opportunity that 20 years from now, hopefully there's going to be, a lot of women in this industry, and I can feel good that I helped contribute kicking that off with not only myself, but the amazing women advisors that were on the task force with me.
Yeah, and I love that that conference is part of what you do. I remember in 2015 when we launched our first national conference, and I was involved in the agenda creation, and I was putting it together, and I had my little Excel spreadsheet of all my speakers. And by the time I got to number 18, I had one name on there, Sherry Fitz. That was the only woman. And I
Yeah.
thought, uh-oh. And I just called Sherry and said, Sherry, I need help here. 17 out of 18 white guys. You know what
Yeah.
diversity means in our industry? This was my joke. Some of the white guys are under 50. Right. It's terrible. And
Yeah.
everybody uncomfortably laughs when I say that because we feel it. And here I was with my Excel spreadsheet putting together a 2.5-day conference. I'm up to 18 speakers and all I have is Sherry. And Sherry
Right.
stepped up and we
Yeah.
made it a condition to try to have 30% of our speakers to be. Can I just say non-white guys? I just did. Okay, I don't know how else to say it, but that's what we were figuring out. But what you realize is you really have to be intentional. You have to do something. You can't just say, hey, this is important. You guys started the conference. We did it with our agenda. You have to do it. And now in this day and age, it's going much farther, which is wonderful. But it just has to be. When your industry doesn't look like the people you serve, you have a problem. And you have to be intentional on how to fix that. So love that you guys were involved in that. Is there any specific changes you've seen where it was kind of the light bulb moment of this work is making a difference and I'm starting to see things happen? Any story you could share?
Well, actually, going back to the fly-in, even yesterday, a lot of advisors started posting on LinkedIn. There's, the famous screenshot picture of the Zoom call, with everybody's picture. And what's so cool about it, you take a look at it. Any of the listeners, next time you see one of those from the NAPA fly-in or any financial service plan advisor event, I was amazed. I counted in two of the different posts, there were half women and half men on that screen. So, and I will also say last year at Summit, I asked all the women to stand up, and it was an overwhelming number, probably close to 40% women. And this is I want to make sure I make this comment. I don't think at all that there aren't women in this position because men are pushing them down and not allowing it. That is not the case. I've had lots of, male advisors reach out to me and say, how do I get a female? Like, you all are so valuable, like you have different perspectives. And so I think it's just, it's a bigger problem we all have to face. And we've got to pull people into this industry. They're not sitting there. We got to get them in here. And what I did last year is I went and reached out to the Maryland women's lacrosse team and asked them if they had any graduating seniors that were looking for a job. And I got 2 responses, and I hired one of them. She was actually a pre-med major, had no intention of going into financial services. She's now studying for CFP and loves it. So, she just never thought of it as a career. So sometimes you got to go in and pull them out and say, hey, come and check our industry out. We're special. Like I always say, we're the good side of Wall Street. We're the ones that, hold the hands of everyone, regardless of how much money you make, and make sure that you have a good outcome. So.
Yeah, and I think you really brought up the challenge that I know I struggle with is I'm in the process now of hiring and growing my personal practice as well. And you have to figure out where the on-ramp is to get into our industry. Because if I just go out and try to recruit existing CFPs, the number that are going to be women or a minority, it's just going to be low. So it's a small pool to choose from, and I may not even have any of them that are within 60 miles of here. So there's a challenge there. It's not necessarily intention, which you said, which I think is great. It's an availability. It's a pool of people. So you have to call the lacrosse team. You have to figure out a way to connect with these people. And I think that's the challenge we have. I don't have any particular insight or epiphany moment of how we're going to do that. But like most things, if we keep talking about it enough, somebody's going to come up with some good ideas. So I'll just keep bringing it up and hope somebody smart comes up with better ideas. But I think that's part of it. So let's go into NAPA now. So now you've been the president in there. there's certainly advantages to your practice, the insight that you gain, the experience, just seeing the industry from a different perspective. But could you say in maybe a kind of a short explanation of, I'm a better advisor because of what happened during my time in NAPA, and here's why I know that's true. Can you go to something specific of, this is what made me a better advisor because of that experience?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that the fact that I've been able to see, and I don't think you have to be president to know this. You could be involved in NAPA or go to the fly-in, but I was able to see that we're in a unique situation being a plan advisor. It's a really niche-y, small, it's a small niche, right? So the folks on Capitol Hill, they do listen to us because we're such a niche group. And because of that, I'm a better advisor because when I'm listening to my clients and I'm listening to the challenges that they face, I'm able to take that and share that back to Capitol Hill in some fashion, whether it's directly or indirectly. And we can affect change. I can't say that enough when I talk to advisors and they're like, well, what's NAPA? And I'm like, no, I'm telling you, I have seen firsthand, the Secure Act. I mean, when the Secure Act got passed, well before that, I mean, the folks at ARA, American Retirement Association, which is the umbrella over NAPA, were heavily involved with helping drive some of the language in that so that we could protect certain clients, because they don't, this might be a shock to some, but the folks that write these bills, they don't know everything. I'm joking there, but they are, they need help. And we are the right industry to help them. So I'm a better advisor because when I hear something from a client, I'm listening more intently because I know I can do something with that information that will actually create an outcome. And I keep using the word outcome because that's the name of your podcast, but you didn't tell me to do that. But I was like, wait a minute, like I'm a better advisor because think about it. If you were listening to your client's problems, but you knew there was nothing you could do about it, you'd still listen, but you'd be like, I can't do anything about it. But now that I'm as after being president, I'm like, wow, I can actually make a difference. So let me listen, let me dig deeper in these problems that they have, because I can take that information and I know it won't fall on deaf ears. Somebody's going to listen to it. So that's what I would say is as an example of why I'm a better advisor because of it.
Yeah, I love that because it really, you're saying that you're more engaged and you're not just present in the conversation, but you're thinking solutions on their behalf. And
Right.
That's pretty awesome. So yeah, that's a better advisor. It's also a better person who makes a difference in the industry. So that's definitely pretty awesome. So now let's go to post-NAPA. So now you've come out the other side, you've put in a lot of time, you're a better advisor, you know that Washington actually listens and that we do affect change, which there are some people listening to the podcast who may not believe that or would struggle to believe that. But I know you, and people who know you know that if you're saying it's actually making a difference, we can bank on it. So that's cool that we know that's actually happening and what NAPA's trying to do is taking place. So now you've come out the other side. Now you're post-president or past president, which is how you say that. I don't know what post-president means. So we're going to go with past president. Sounds way better. What are you doing now, and how has that experience shaped who you are right now?
Yeah, I mean, I'm still involved in the Leadership Council, so I will be for the next, call it 12 months. And I intend to still play an active role in NAPA in some fashion, but it's more about what I can do kind of outside of NAPA. So to me, it's about mentoring, whether it's someone on our team or women or advisors all over the country. I think, speaking on a podcast like this, I've spoken on others, and one thing that impresses me is how many listeners will reach out to me and ask for help. And I've had dozens and dozens of calls with random advisors all over the country that heard me on a podcast somewhere and were like, can I ask your advice about what I should do or how I can grow my business or whatever it is? And I've always opened up, my time to anybody to help them. So what will I do after? I'll take that experience I've had and continue to try to mentor other advisors, whether it's my team or outside of my team. Because I think that if we lift lift the industry outside of my team, the whole industry wins. So to me, I'm not selfish about my time from that perspective.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And as someone who's also engaged in helping other advisors and facilitating conversations, it's just the coolest part of this business. I mean, I love helping clients. I'm year 32 of doing that, but being around other advisors who are passionate about what they do and who want to learn. For me, it started when I taught retirement planning in the CFP program probably 15 years ago. And it was just so cool. The people in the class were sponges. They loved it, and I was ready. I enjoyed it. So that's definitely a cool thing. Well, when I originally reached out to you to do this podcast, I wanted to go over your practice and what you see with the industry. But when you made that statement that you came out of being president of NAPA a different person, I just figured that was it. We just have to talk about NAPA and what happened, because that's a pretty profound statement. So thank you so much for sharing all of that. Is there anything I didn't touch on or any final words you want to say as we wrap up here?
No, I think you covered it all. I'm excited. I think we have the best industry in the whole wide world, and there's not one day I wake up that I'm not excited about going to work. So I hope everyone listening can find that passion as well. And we can all make working America feel less stressed, which is our mission. Yeah.
Thanks so much for being on the show, Jania.
Thank you. Take care, Ross.
Thank you for listening to Outcomes. Subscribe now to be notified when new episodes become available. The information covered and posted represents the views and opinions of the guest and does not necessarily represent the views or opinions of Advisor 2X. The content has been made available for informational and educational purposes only. The content is not intended to be a substitute for professional investing advice. Always seek the advice of your financial advisor or other qualified financial service providers with any questions you may have regarding your investment planning.